Stop complaining about your neighbors. Okay, sure. Now, that story is very recent, and the told you so effect is never as sweet as this was. I have moved in an apartment with a roommate last summer. When we first came in, the biggest part of the sale was the fact that the apartment was freshly renovated, and soundproof. This one is important, and you'll see why. So when we got in, my roommate immediately fell in love with it, and I was too. When we moved in, we were very careful not to bother anyone, as we wanted to quickly have a good relationship with our neighbors. Oh, did you see the new neighbors? They only move during the day, they don't make sound during the night. What nice people. Kind of deal, and we can safely say it worked. What we did not know, however, is that we were only 3 renters when we first came in. Us on the floor, another family upstairs on the opposite side, and another one on the 3rd floor, with one empty apartment between us. Turns out that soundproof statement was accurate, but only in regards to the inside to outside situation. When our upstairs neighbors moved in, it was a goddamn nightmare. Sound from 5 a.m. to past midnight, 5 days in a row, dropping stuff, speaking loudly, yelling or walking in their apartment with shoes on. Out of frustration on the 5th day, I walk upstairs and meet my neighbor, at midnight. I ask them to cease their activities for the night. I have work in the morning, and I cannot be kept up all night. I understand they were freshly moved in, and they might have had a tight schedule, but midnight was too late to be moving stuff. He didn't reply and closed the door on me. I go downstairs, and the sound starts over again. I notify my landlord, and he tells me he'll handle it, and apologized for the situation, explaining to me my neighbor was just moving and that he probably didn't understand what I was saying because of language barrier. The neighbors were extremely loud. I know a lot of Karen will use that as an excuse to shower their neighbors with hate, but when I say loud, I mean it. There was no stop to their loud noises. It seemed like they couldn't be bothered to hold something without dropping it, or jumping up and down on the floor, or purposefully banging the bed frame against the wall when having sex. I recorded the event, and even install microphones in my home jack to my computer, activating and recording every time there is strong vibration in the house. Over 98 events on Monday, February 14th. I was livid. I sent that to the landlord and explained this cannot continue. First, the apartment was poorly soundproofed, which meant we were hearing every damn sound at all time. Second, we had notified the neighbors about the situation, and they have ignored it. I have notified the landlord to awaken him to our situation. I report the issues several times, and even advise my landlord that there were very heavy-sounding thuds coming from upstairs, which worried me. He answered with, "Stop complaining about your neighbors, already. I have other things to do." I have answered, "Understood, sir. Please be advised this will be my last communication and action to help you in that regard. You know when I said I had loud bangs? Turns out our upstairs neighbor was doing bench press lifting in his living room, and the heavy thuds I kept hearing was him dropping his weights on the ground. I had warned my roommate about removing anything she didn't want broken from the living room, and lo and behold, 4 days later, the first crack appeared. Then another. The floor was giving up. I moved the couch out of the way, and moved the TV and consoles into the bedroom. Fast forward to 3 days ago. After another series of loud bangs, I had a loud crack, followed by "oh fuck," followed by very loud noises. I went to the living room, to see my neighbor on the ground, with several actually gruesome injuries due to the fact he just went through the floor and brought his bench and weight rack with him. I called an ambulance, and the police. The police asked me if I reported the issue with my landlord, which I could confirm, due to my communications being made via email. I sent everything, and I am now, of course, filing to break my lease due to uninhabitable dwelling. The landlord came in yesterday, and just proceeded to explode. Told me I should have made him aware that my neighbor was doing dangerous things, to which I answered I had notified him about the very loud sounds and he never investigated, and that he also ordered me to stop complaining about my neighbors. It was not my responsibility to go out of my way to protect his assets if he is unwilling to cooperate with me. My neighbors, roommate and I are now residing in a hotel until we can find a new place to live. We are now also looking towards adding a bit more salt to the injury by maybe filing for criminal negligence against both our landlord and the neighbor, the first because the apartment was apparently having some flaws and the latter for endangering us. Had I not caught up on what caused the sound earlier, me or, God forbid, my roommate could have been under that. Anyway, it was a fun week. And I do enjoy the accommodations of my hotel. Never went to a 4-star spa included hotel before. Turns out the chocolate on the pillow is a lie and I am very disappointed about that. Too long did not read. My neighbor was a noisy bastard that went through the floor with his weightlifting equipment, and my landlord ignored me when I complained about the noise. Edit. As I have advised to a few commentators, I followed up with my roommate, and she did not take pictures of the event. She got a bit mad, I asked, considering what just happened, and questioned my priorities. I then explained that our Reddit story got a lot of attention and some people in the comments requested some visual proof. I will spare you her answer. I will just add that it's okay not to believe the story based on my word alone. If people actually didn't question it, I would be worried. When I posted this story, my only intent was to share my experience, and I, though, malicious compliance, neat, if there was a horrible landlord, bad neighbor, Reddit I would have found prior to submitting this story, probably would have went there instead. I will also add that I am not an expert or an engineer. How and why something like weights and the like would cause part of the floor to collapse, I cannot say. Was there a structural damage prior? Was there water damage that never was addressed, just covered up? Was the structure just not as sound as I believed it was when I got in? I cannot say. I understand some of you might have worked in construction and never have experienced such an event, or have actual reasons to suspect a lie due to personal and professional experience. Once again, you can, and should, question anything on the internet. I just hope you also apply that kind of skepticism, and I mean wanting proof or the opinion of an actual expert prior to making a decision, to more than just Reddit posts. For those who made us laugh and those who have spoken to us, who have been encouraging and constructive, people who actually gave us advice, I thank you very much. It was very nice of everyone, and I wish you the best. And #X200B. Update. My brother has agreed to take the case and look at the options. We are not feeling very vindictive and our insurance are going to cover most of the costs, so we might file for negligence. I'm not a lawyer myself, I don't know the terms in English, but basically, the landlord should have had his building inspected before renting, which was apparently not done. Landlord has apparently calmed down after the events and has apologized for everything. He has scheduled a visit from an inspector to check the integrity of the apartment and the cause of the damage that would have allowed a human and exercise equipment to go through the floor and ceiling. In exchange for not pressing charges, he has agreed to reimburse all the money we have invested into the rent, our stay at the hotel and a little extra as an apology, and the guarantee to either repair the apartment and soundproof it properly or, if it is not an option to go back, he will relocate us onto another of his building, which are a lot better than what we had, reduce our rent quite significantly for as long as we stay, with papers to back his offer up, and a full year of free rent. This is actually quite generous, in the current rent market. I'm leaving the final say to roommate. On my end, I was not injured, she was not, and this could have been just a freak accident. Yes, the landlord is a bit of an ass, but let's be honest, we all had worse, landlord-wise. Plus, even if we take him up on his offers, the upstairs neighbor might be looking for some severe reparation. He did get injured, after all. But we would be happy to hear about your opinion. What would you say? Take this further or just take the refund, plus the full year, rent-free year and then low rent for the years to come. Comment from Op. I just want to thank everyone for their kind words, their jokes, their encouragements. They have very much helped both of us, and got us to smile a bit more. For the others, I do not wish anything less. I just hope you are doing well, that you are safe. I appreciate the effort of those who were still able to voice their disbelief while being respectful, and for the others, well, you know. It's the internet, what are we going to do? Love you all, stay safe, and thank you for your time. Could you fill for a trespassing charge for the neighbor that fell through the floor? They did enter your residence without your consent. Whoa. Just, whoa. I've only ever imagined that kinda thing happening. Some kinda lawsuit is probably possible for unsafe conditions. Something was definitely wrong for the floor to give out like that. The weather girls were right, it's raining men. Maybe that's what my upstairs neighbors are doing. Or their crotch goblin is practicing parkour till 3 a.m. You can ask the hotel if they have a chocolate turn-down service, as they may have had to stop doing this due to potential allergies, lactose intolerance of guests. Most places, if you ask nicely enough, are super happy to make your day. I have my fingers super crossed they deliver for you. Smiling face. Due to my communications being made via email. Email is forever. Record anything like this by email communications. Often this is accepted in court as evidence, since it can easily be confirmed if needed. That's pretty crazy. Could you upload photos of the collapse and some of those over-the-top audio recordings in another post somewhere for people to gawk at? Landlord paying for the hotel expenses. I can't imagine the neighbor falling through the roof into your living room. Bet crashing through the ceiling is not the only fallout your neighbor gonna witness. I call BS. Our medical system may be a sham, but we structurally over-engineer everything. Is the landlord paying for your 4-star hotel temporary accommodation? Or insurance? I can't imagine you'd be so placid if you had to fork out that extra cash. Definitely file charges. There was a lot of negligence here. Just like some others, I'm calling bullshit on this. I see you've stated that this is in North America. Assuming that you're in the US or Canada, apartment buildings can be a little sketchy, but not this shitty. Unless this dude was benching thousands of pounds, that's not going to be enough to make the floor collapse. You could literally have a car sitting in your living room and it wouldn't collapse. Also, if I see cracks appearing in my ceiling and I'm expecting it to collapse, I'm sure as hell not going to just move some stuff around. I'm getting TF out of there and making some phone calls. Unless you have pictures, you're full of shit. What am I missing? £1,000 of person and equipment isn't a particular large load or particularly point load. Living space is usually designed to 30 or 40 psf. Awesome. While moving furniture away, I'd have set up a camera to record the event. Stop complaining. Why didn't you tell me so? That's priceless. Great MC, OP. But it's an art form. Break my lease due to inhabitable dwelling. I believe you mean uninhabitable. Honestly, this is 95% the fault of the landlord, property developer. Sure, the neighbors were inconsiderate, but people have the right to move around and make noise in their own home. Deliberately making loud noises late in the day is a bit rude, but people shouldn't have to worry about whether their neighbors can hear their TV, music, vacuum cleaner, etc. Obviously, a floor should not fail from someone using a bench press. The bench should be spreading the weight. I can vaguely see it if the bench doesn't have a rack and he's throwing the weights on the floor when he's finished, but even then a floorboard or two might crack, maybe even have the end of the pole come through, but the entire floor collapsing is major structural failure. You get chocolate at 5 stars. Some have their own chocolatiers. Great story. You may be mixing metaphors on purpose, and it's a fine and easy thing to do. It's not rocket surgery. But if not, insult to injury. Salt to the wound. Slightly smiling face. Neighbor must be a Lil Jon fan. Turned down for what? Proceeds to crash through the floor. I'd say by far the main issue here is that the floor was so weak that it collapsed from someone dropping some weights. Chocolate on the pillow is a 5-star perk. Upgrade. Op, is this your neighbor by any chance? Glad you had foresight and that you are okay. I hope Mr. Waits is too. I am guessing that you will be charging the hotel costs, and all out-of-pocket expenses, to the landlord as their negligence, combined with the stupid tenant. Good luck with it all. The landlord should have suggested that he move into your apartment and vice versa. Was his name Ron? Because the apartment was apparently having some flaws. Not once your neighbor was through with it. Did they even bother to put some cushion on the floor to absorb the impact? It sucks that you have people questioning the validity of the story, because I friggin' hate that. That's like rule 1, right? That being said, even in the shoddiest of apartments, is there an entire section of flooring that is long enough and wide enough for an occupied bench press system to fall straight through like in the movies? Or would there be gas or water lines, beams, electric or cable wires that somehow form a web of a safety net to catch him from falling 10 feet down full gravity? Like, did he fall down completely while bench press and all? I lived under a dude that was seriously OCD. I say this because he dragged furniture around every night like clockwork. How and why something like weights and the like would cause part of the floor to collapse, I cannot say. I can, more or less, your floor in a common apartment isn't built to handle the load of a bench press, especially with dropped weights. It just won't handle it, and you're a fool to try that. Hope the landlord is paying for your hotel accommodations. If not, he should be, and I would send him the bill. I'd love to see a photo of that mess. There are too many savages in society with no common sense and who only care about themselves. I feel for you as someone who tries to be considerate to others. I hope you're making your crappy landlord pay for everything and suing for negligence. Go out and buy yourself a box of chocolate mints and put one on each pillow yourself. That's all you ever get from a hotel anyway, and you deserve it. And it sounds like you're going to get a settlement from landlord and former upstairs neighbor, more than sufficient to pay for the chocolates. This was delightful to read. Thank you for sharing. I've a neighbor who started walking at around 11 p.m. last Saturday until Sunday afternoon. Thankfully during the week they just do it the moment I come home and at bedtime. Oh, and there's the incessant playing of an accordion until noon on weekdays. Poor noise insulation appears to be a problem between floors, but I can't hear my partner speak from the next room. Man shrugging. If true, reckless endangerment could be charged against neighbor for the activity and the landlord for ignoring the activity. Both put you at risk regardless of their intentions. Talk to your local police and get an attorney on contingency. Filing to break my lease due to inhabitable dwelling. Quebec? Do file. Those people never learn otherwise. And since you did warn both, can you maybe add attempted bodily harm, or something? I mean, them weights. Shudder to think what would have happened if one of you were under them when they came down. Curiosity question: how much does a set of bench press weights weigh? Or how much weight can a typical second-story floor handle per square feet? Assuming it is up to code. I can't imagine criminal negligence for lifting weights at home LMAO. But there is always chocolates on pillows. What kind of training equipment came down? And how much? Your roommate shouldn't have gotten upset that you asked if they had taken pictures. Where are their priorities even? Photo evidence is always necessary in things like this after a call to the police and ambulance, of course. MMN. Loud noises are not the same as cracks. In most leases you have a duty to report structural damage to the LL. You could be on the hook for some of that. You asked your neighbor to stop once and want to sue him now. Good luck.